Who's good, who's not? Who's honest, who's not? Who's real, who's not?
Who's telling the truth, who's fake, who's not fake, it's completely confusing.
You know, it's very hard to believe anything that we're told.
Who's the mole? Who's betraying us? What's going on?
A world of mystery, spy counter spy. Nothing is what it really is.
It's like an adult's version of Cops and Robbers.
The wilderness of mirrors refers to this ultimate game that we're talking about.
Well, this is kind of unusual development in television. The company was originally developed as a feature by John Calley and with Ken Nolan, who wrote Black Hawk Down, actually for Ridley years ago.
In this case, the company was brought to me by a producer named John Calley, and it was like a 897-page book, and they said, "Can you read it over the weekend?" And I was in Mexico with my wife at the time in Cabo San Lucas, and I did read it and pitched my take to John on Monday while I was in my underwear lying on the floor in my hotel in Cabo San Lucas.
I just asked him, prevailed upon him to read it and see if it was something that might engage his interest. I think he's a brilliant young filmmaker, a film writer, and will be a great filmmaker.
I know Ken Nolan. I knew he'd been working on this project called The Company, and so I'd kind of been trying to keep abreast of it because I thought it was such a great, it was a great book, and the book is long. And in fact, John Calley had come to me way back when I was doing another movie and saying, "What about this?" And because I was so engaged in another film at the time, I'd said to John, "Look, you guys get it written, show it to me, and I will come on board."
I knew that Ken and Ridley had had a very successful collaboration on Black Hawk Down, and I thought the fact that Ken had written it might provoke Ridley to read it prior to committing to this other project. And I got it to him, and he did read it and said that he called and said he would like very much to do it.
I thought it was absolutely wonderful, but it was lengthy. I think at the time it was about 180 pages, and it needed a director to come on board. And so with that idea in mind of coming to do a feature film, John Calley and I went to the studio and talked about making it into a film.
I was very excited. I was also in transition from running the studio to becoming a producer. And my successor or successors were nervous about the budget implications of it. So after much diddling and a great deal of patience on Ridley's part, they finally decided that they really didn't want to step up to what they thought the picture would cost.
I think they thought it was going to be too expensive, and it was too this, too that. And then I think there are also two other projects out at the time. My argument was we'll move so fast, we'll be faster out the box than they will be. We can guess what those projects were. I'm not going to say what they were right now because I love being competitive. But they didn't. So here we are with, I think, a better version of that, and a much more expansive version of that in this 6 hours.
The construct of the novel is such that it fits perfectly into a miniseries format because it's written very episodically. It covers a broad, about 4-year period, and you can break it down very conveniently into the Bay of Pigs segment, the Hungarian Revolution, and so on. And so when the opportunity came to do it for TNT, what was most exciting for us was all the auspices involved on the feature side. Calley and Ken Nolan saw it as a great opportunity to really expand the story and fully exploit the novel to its greatest extent.
One felt through the whole evolution of it that there was so much remarkable information that couldn't be dealt with, and it couldn't be dealt with in anything other than short staccato scenes that would be suitable for the big screen, but not do justice to it.
This is a very dense book, a very articulate book, a very visual book, and it's kind of an embarrassment of riches. And I think what Ken Nolan did is he extracted the best and articulated a brilliant, brilliant screenplay.
As far as I know, I was pretty faithful because Littell's dialogue is just incredible. I mean, if I could be half the writer Littell is, that would be an amazing thing. I mean, the guy, the way he describes a scene and describes a character. It's stuff I never really have to do in screenwriting, and I wish I did, and so I had a chance to just extract a lot of his description and dialogue from the book and put it into the script. And then everyone said, "Oh, you're so brilliant, I love the dialogue." And I went, "Oh, thanks."
Requires the patience of a saint, which you, Harvey, do not have.
I'm here to tell you that I'm going to the director to put my case against your pal, Philby. Adrian Kim Philby is working for the KGB.
The great opportunity you have in television is you can tell a much more detailed, much more layered story than you can in a feature film because we have more time to do it. At least we have more screen time. We don't necessarily have more time to shoot it. We have more screen time. And I love the original script. The writer, Ken Nolan, expanded it, took more material from the book and added it to the script. So it became a 6-hour. We were able to include a lot more than was in the original feature film.
The only things that we ended up adding into the television version that Ken hadn't written some form of for the film was the Hungarian Revolution, which didn't fit in there. And then the final episode is greatly expanded from what we originally had. But the good news was that there was so much material Ken already had. We had so much to work with, and the script and the feature form was already so strong that I could only look good, whatever I contributed.
People have seen thrillers and that sort of thing about the Cold War and about the CIA. This is unique in that it's done in a 6-hour format. And there's 3 2-hour films, really, that are all very different. You have kind of an espionage thriller in the first couple hours.
Colby is breaking him in as his future right-hand man. Leo's one of us.
While the sorcerer conducts his own mole search in Berlin, I've conducted my own.
The second couple hours, is a very big action piece. And the third hour itself is kind of a psychological thriller.
It was just the brittle shell cracking under its own weight.
They're 3 very different pieces, but it all wraps into the same story, and it's a really interesting way to tell a story. And I don't think you could have done that in just a straight 2-hour movie.
To me, I've always been intrigued by the CIA and what they really do and how decisions are made and what kind of sacrifices people have to make. And again, the questions come up. All these good things, do they really amount to the right thing?
Why do people join the CIA? I suppose for the adventure. I think you're going to get into a life of spying and shooting people and drinking martinis, and it turns out to be a lot more grim and brutal and disturbing, and especially when you become emotionally attached to the people who are rising up against communism or trying to overthrow Cuba. When you start to make those emotional bonds, then you see those people killed before your eyes. I suppose being a CIA agent isn't that fun anymore. Isn't that glamorous?
I think the Cold War was very dangerous, where people would just simply disappear.
I think certainly, one of the themes running through the story is that over the course of many years of working for the CIA, that that there's a certain amount of disillusionment that comes with heroism.
Jack, every character in the book was so well drawn that I actually just had to leave things out a lot of the times. But in the book, Ebby goes to Budapest, and I thought, well, following William Goldman's rules of screenwriting, you have to give the star everything. So I said Jack should go to Budapest, and it should all be Jack. I really wanted him to be a lonely guy who was sort of heartbroken by his time in the CIA. And in the book, he gets married. I can't remember if he has kids. I don't think he has kids, but I thought, he doesn't get married. He falls in love with Rainbow, and he loses her and is torn up about that for the rest of his life, So I thought an unrequited love, it'd be a better character for Jack.
the story of Lily and Jack is a very sad, pretty short but intense love story. It's a story of two persons who know that there is no chance for their love and that there is actually no point in falling in love with each other, but at the same time they both feel that attraction and can't really fight against it.
I just thought, wouldn't it be great to make this guy sort of a hollow shell of a man by age 63 or whatever he ends up being.
Jack is someone who is very idealistic, coming out of Yale and being recruited by the CIA. Very excited going over to Berlin for his first assignment. Wisniewski. He hemmed and hawed his way through his biography. Will you put the screws doing? God, Harvey, what do you have in that cooler? Slivovitz?
The sorcerer somehow represents the old way of doing it. Before the CIA became the CIA, it was manned by kind of guys who were a little bit on the edge of things. They were very individualistic, a bit, sort of a bit rebellious. They bent the rules when they thought it was necessary. They weren't as well regulated or as corporate as it became.
Harvey, you need to get some rest.
No, I can't. I'm waiting for a phone call.
From whom?
I don't know whom, but my nose will twitch. And so he belongs to a kind of an older style of espionage. He has a protege, Jack, the character that Chris O'Donnell plays, who's a generation younger. And he, in a sense, represents the new CIA. The guys that kind of went to university. They studied politics or world economics. They have a kind of intellectual, academic approach to the same job.
We're not just looking for the best and the brightest. We're also looking for those who can handle extreme pressure and stress without wavering from their course. Now, there are no textbooks on spying. You make it up as you go along. Those of you who do not want to enter this world can leave now without embarrassment. To those of you who choose to stay, welcome to the company.
Whereas Harvey belongs to a generation that were a bit more rough and ready. Hello?
Working with the sorcerer is very much an eye-opening experience, and I think that all the experiences he has, in Berlin and Budapest, the Bay of Pigs, he's kind of a loner. I mean, his family is actually Leo's family. He's married to his job. These are the events that really help to shape him as a person.
It's really about telling the story on both sides and the personal lives of these characters who actually try to function behind the Iron Curtain.
Your professor, your supposed savior, has betrayed you. He works for the KGB. He's what we call a disinformation agent.
It's an epic story framed by the relationships of the agents and the woman they touch along the way.
The Hungarian Revolution, the invasion of the Bay of Pigs. Those are some of the big kind of canvases that we're seeking to reenact.
Obviously, there's a big landscape of events that are going on a bigger level, but you forget and you wonder about what happened on the very front lines and to these people on a personal level. The guys that actually had to follow out these orders and make decisions that they know they're doing it for the country, but they still affect you on a personal level, and that's great for drama.
Don't take away our dignity. It's the last thing we've got.